Hello, this weekend you join me from the Ashdown forest. It is gorgeous here. We've got the cutest Airbnb cottage to stay in and we're just going to spend our whole weekend outside exploring, enjoying the gorgeous weather, and I thought you could come along with us. Once a medieval hunting ground, the Ashdown forest is now known as a walker's paradise, with its wide open spaces, tranquil wooded areas and incredible heathland. We stayed in a beautiful cottage right in the middle of the forest, complete with wooden beams and a fireplace and trails starting right from our doorstep. It was one of the most species-rich places I've ever visited in the south of England, and we were spoilt with the weather. We spent our time walking, exploring the setting of the famous Winnie-the-Pooh stories, and come dusk, we tried our luck at hearing a spooky sounding animal that I've never heard before. Hello and welcome to our very humble, very lovely abode for the weekend. I thought I'd just show you around because I think you'll really love it. It's such a gorgeous little place. I'll actually link it down below because it's an Airbnb. If you're ever in the area and you want somewhere to stay, I can highly recommend this. The host Jan is lovely and this place has so much character. So once you come in, it's all one room apart from the bathroom. Instantly there's this amazing fireplace. It's actually not a real fireplace, it's an electric one, but the rustic charm is still there and it's very warm. We tried it last night, it's lovely. I spared excuse all our stuff around. We've made ourselves at home. It's on their little kind of farmhouse property out there. There's these lovely open beams all throughout, which I just absolutely love. Sofa, little place to eat, really well kitted out kitchen, all modern appliances, everything you can need, including some wine. And yeah, there's just so many nice little touches, little things like up on the beams, all the plates, the keys along the fireplace, flowers there, the logs in the corner even though the fire doesn't turn on. So this evening I am really excited because we are off to a Sussex Wildlife Trust nature reserve called Old Lodge, and this is an amazing nature reserve for Heathland species, particularly Heathland birds. So Heathland is a really rare habitat and they have a lot of species that depend on it, and so because there isn't much habitat, therefore the species really suffer as well. But here there's so many great sightings of species that you'd be really hard pressed to see other places. So I have a chance of seeing things like Dartford warbler, stonechat, tree pipit. Cuckoos are there, they're not exclusive to Heathland, but they're always a joy to hear. The one I'm most really excited about hopefully seeing, or probably more likely hearing, is the Nightjar. So Nightjar is something that I've never seen or heard before, and yeah, I definitely wouldn't even accidentally have seen or heard it without knowing, because one, they're found only in this Heathland area, which is a really rare habitat. Two, they're one of our summer migrants, so there's only a smaller window of opportunity to even see or hear them in the year anyway. And thirdly, they're either out at dawn or dusk is when they're active. So yeah, they're not one you're likely to just wander across unless you're in Heathland specifically looking or listening out for them at certain times of year and night or morning. So yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. We'd ventured out to the reserve a lot earlier than dusk when the nightjars would start calling, but we wanted to try our luck at seeing other Heathland birds that would be visible and out singing before the sun bed down. We enjoyed a lovely encounter with a great spotted woodpecker who stayed in plain sight for a lot longer than they normally do, but the bird we saw the most of was the stonechat. This little Heathland bird can be found flicking their wings as they perch on low bushes. As their name suggests, they produce a sharp call that sounds a lot like two stones being tapped together, but I like to remember it as sounding a lot like a camera shutter. Yeah, that's a stonechat. It's making the same sound, but the colour is different. Do you think is that a female or a younger one? Does it look like this? As the last of the light turned a world of colour to one of shadows, we watched a beautiful golden light descend upon the hills, and a cosy quiet took hold as the birds stopped singing and turned their minds to sleep. So, somewhat shamefully, we bailed on the nightjarring last night. We got there like 3 hours earlier than dusk would even start, which is when you start to hear them call to see other Heathland birds, which was wonderful. But then by the time it was 3 hours later, we were really quite cold and tired. And even though we were probably only about 20 minutes away from when they were going to start calling, we just, you know, when you just, it's time. And I was a bit disappointed, but it did feel right to come back. But we will go again, I promise you. Even though we bailed last night, I will be rallying Josh to go again tonight, and we will hear them. Josh is just doing some work this morning, so I'm going to go for a little wander. Our Airbnb host, Jan, said that there's a very simple, about an hour-long route if I just follow the road and then turn left at a gate and then just keep turning left and do a circle round. So in theory, it sounds really easy. So we're going to give it a go. But it's a gorgeous day, sun's already out, and the forest is just so green. It's so nice here, considering this area is so close to me, like, I don't know, between 40 minutes and an hour away from me. I haven't really explored it much, but it's lovely. You've got pine forest, you've got ancient woodlands, heathland. It's such a good area to explore, and it's just so quiet here. I mean, I'm on a road, but haven't seen any cars the whole time we've been here. I say that I can hear one now. That is so typical. Just broke my illusion of being out in the middle of nowhere on country roads where people only walk and cars don't go. But it's still beautiful. Let's see what we can see on this walk. Lots of silverweed along the roadside here. You can tell it really easily. It's, for once, a plant or an animal is named really usefully. It has this silvery tone to it. It's not showing particularly well up on the camera, but it will be striking in person for you. And they look quite furry. They have this feathered approach, kind of like carrot leaf flowers. Can you see that funnel, spiderweb? So I'm on the lookout for spiders' webs today. This is my newest fascination. I don't know if anyone else shares it with me. I've been doing a course with the FSC, the Field Studies Council, on spiders, And it's really interesting to know that while all spiders can make webs because they all have spinnerets, which is the part of their body that can produce silk, not all spiders make webs. It's only 18 out of the 38 spider families we have here in the UK that actually make webs. And that's because the purpose of webs when they're used is to catch prey. And not all spiders hunt that way, catch their prey that way, so it's just not needed. But since they all have use of the silk, they make use of it in many other ways. So a lot of spiders will wrap up their spider eggs tightly in their silk to keep them safe. Some still hunt with the silk but not using webs. They'll instead just use it to immobilize prey when they physically catch it and bundle it up. They'll use it as an escape mechanism. You may well have experienced this yourself, where you might pick up a spider and suddenly it will release some silk and it will be dangling down from you and scuttering away. It's an escape mechanism. There's even one spider called the diving bell spider that will make a bell-shaped web just under the surface of the water, and it will dive down, collecting little pockets of oxygen on its hair-lined body, and it will take it down, dive under, and it will have its own little pocket of air beneath the water, and so it'll be safe and secure there. So cool. Can you hear that one note call behind me? There it is. Just one high-pitched note. That's the chiff-chaff, one of our summer migrants, probably one of the first to come in. They have, of course, the iconic chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff call, which is where they get the name from. But they also do an equally, if not more, simple call. It's just that one trill note. So that's another way to try and listen for them. They're actually really hard to see because they like to sing from concealed perches, and they are essentially at the end of the day a little brown job. Nice to listen to though. I love foxgloves. I think they're so beautiful. I think it's the colour that does it for me. It's a lovely colour. My mum actually told me a story of how when she was younger, they would turn the petals of the foxglove inside out to get at the rich nectar inside, like a pollinator would, which she was surprised about when she remembered it, because foxgloves are actually, they're poisonous. They're not good to eat, so they must have avoided eating the poisonous parts, I don't know. There's a young chaffinch just sat on that branch. They have a really distinctive call to me that sounds a bit like a bouncy ball, you know, when you drop it and it starts dropping high and then the bounce gets smaller and smaller. It's a cute one. It's all fluffy because it's still young. Come afternoon, I rejoined Josh and we jumped in a car and headed out for a Heathland walk. Ashdown Forest is famous for being the setting for the Winnie-the-Pooh stories by A.A. Milne, who lived in the area and would take his son, Christopher Robin, out walking these same paths. We visited Pooh Cafe for tea and cake and then headed down to the official Pooh Bridge for the obligatory game of Pooh-sticks. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I don't even know which one's mine. Come on, stick. I don't know which one's mine. You think it's mine? Yeah. I'll claim that. In the evening, we enjoyed a pub dinner, and then the plan was just to head home for bed, until I managed to convince Josh of a different course of action. Nightjar searching, take 2. We've literally got out of bed to do this. We bailed last night, but I promise you, we're more dedicated tonight. We will hear one. This time, we didn't head out until it was already dusk and the prime time to hear the Nightjar. They make 2 noises. One sounds like a frog, and the other sounds like a kind of loud, churring, static noise, and they are both equally as bizarre. So faintly you can hear it. Let's keep it forward. That way. Okay, let's get closer. That's so cool. So we're just about to check out. We've still got another day we're going to be exploring because we don't need to go home yet, and it's a gorgeous day, so we're just going to do more walking, see what we can see. But it's been a lovely stay here. This place is absolutely gorgeous. I feel so relaxed and refreshed, which is exactly what you want after a weekend breakaway. And long may it continue. We've got another day of this. So alive with wildlife compared to other areas I've visited. Even just driving at night, I wouldn't know this myself, but you know, my parents and my grandparents talk of just driving and your windscreen just being splattered in insects, and they recall that as a sign of the decline of insects, because you know, when you drive now, you don't have that. But last night when we were driving to see the Nightjars, there were moths absolutely everywhere, fluttering around. It was amazing to see.
So many times I'm stranded, a castaway on an unknown shore, although a stranger in this.
I can hear the gorse popping all around me. When it gets to the time of year and hot enough, their seeds, they pop off like popcorn, and that's their seed dispersal method. Just pinging them all over the shot. It just makes this wonderful little kind of Rice Krispie like noise all around. Now, which is an incredible Heathland habitat, brilliant for Heathland species, particularly rare Heathland birds, which are hard to see elsewhere. And we just have the whole place to ourselves. So we've already been here a couple of hours and haven't seen anyone. It's absolutely gorgeous, and how lovely to have such a healthy habitat to explore all to yourself. We then found a nice spot and spent a few hours reading in the sun. I've been reading Tristan Gooley's The Natural Navigator, which is all about reconnecting with the lost art of natural navigation. There was one paragraph that really stood out to me that I'd like to share with you. Natural navigation is one of the rarest arts on the planet, but has not yet disappeared altogether. We tend to see it primarily in relation to our understanding of how earlier cultures looked at the world around them. There is something patronising in the modern attitude to the way things were done in the past. It is common to encounter the notion that the degree to which ancients were connected to the natural world indicates their lack of sophistication. This attitude reflects a peculiar modern illness. We consider our need to lead lives that leave no time for contemplation of our physical environment as somehow superior, but in doing so, we often fail to recognise what has been lost. We're on the hunt for a cuckoo now. We're gonna hear it. which is amazing because they're increasingly rare now, so it's wonderful to be able to hear it. But to be able to see one is another thing. They're notoriously difficult to spot. But to be honest, it's really exciting just trying to follow the sound. I remember when we were little and we used to play hide and seek games, my mum would always use the cuckoo sound to denote where she was so that we could come towards the sound to try and find her. So this feels a bit like an extension of that game. It's really fun. It felt like the perfect Sunday afternoon as we wandered around, the air warm and still and hazy, giving the world that lazy and detached feel. We came across a beautiful habitat, and one I've never seen before. It was a conifer forest, but the trees were spaced out and mixed in with a few broadleafs too, and instead of their normal dark atmosphere and ground covered in conifer needles, the earth was carpeted in light and grass. It's hard to capture on film, but it gave the area an almost fairy-like feel, and it was the perfect way to round off our weekend away. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy coming on another weekend away with me, as I headed off to the Lake District and spent the whole time hiking in 30-degree heat and swimming in tarns. It was glorious. But most importantly, thank you for watching, and I wish you many lovely weekends of your own.